What if I told you that football witnessed something that may never happen again? Not one generational player. Not two legends from different eras. But two men. Playing at the exact same time. At the exact same peak. For over 15 years, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo didn't just dominate football. They broke it. Records that once stood for decades were shattered every season. Goal totals that seemed impossible became normal. And an entire generation of fans became divided into two camps. Messi or Ronaldo. But here's the truth. The greatest rivalry in sports history was never really about football. It was about two completely different definitions of greatness. One was born a genius. The other built himself into one. And by the end of this story you'll understand why the debate still refuses to die. Because while one man would eventually lift the World Cup, the other would become the greatest goal scorer the game has ever seen. And depending on what you value most, your answer may be completely different. So let's go back to where it all began. In Rosario, Argentina, a quiet young boy possessed a gift that seemed almost unnatural. Whenever the ball touched his feet, something magical happened. But there was a problem. Lionel Messi's body wasn't growing normally. Doctors diagnosed him with a growth hormone deficiency. Without treatment, his football dream could end before it truly started. His family couldn't afford the medication. His local club couldn't afford it either. At one point, the future of one of football's greatest players came down to a simple question. Who would pay for the treatment? The answer came from across the Atlantic. Barcelona. A club willing to take a chance on a tiny boy nobody could fully understand. That decision would change football history forever. Thousands of kilometers away on the Portuguese island of Madeira, another future legend was fighting a completely different battle. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't fighting against his body. He was fighting against his circumstances. His family lived modestly. His opportunities were limited. His path was far less protected. Football wasn't simply a dream. It was an escape route. And from a very young age, Ronaldo developed something that would define his entire career. An obsession. Not talent. Not skill. Obsession. He wanted to be the best. Not one of the best. The best. And he was willing to suffer for it. While others slept, Ronaldo trained. While others celebrated, Ronaldo worked. While others relied on talent, Ronaldo relied on relentless self-improvement. That mentality would eventually transform him into something football had never seen before. And when these two completely different paths finally collided, football entered its greatest era. But before Messi and Ronaldo became rivals, they first had to become monsters. Under Pep Guardiola, Messi evolved into football's ultimate creator. A false nine. A playmaker. A goal scorer. A magician. Often all in the same match. Defenders couldn't predict him. Coaches couldn't stop him. Entire tactical systems were redesigned simply to slow him down. And even then it rarely worked. Meanwhile, Ronaldo was undergoing a transformation of his own. The flashy winger at Manchester United was disappearing. In his place emerged a goal machine. Every movement became efficient. Every run became calculated. Every shot became lethal. By the time he arrived at Real Madrid, football had never witnessed a player so obsessed with scoring goals. And then something extraordinary happened. Both players reached their peak at exactly the same time. This is where the rivalry became immortal. Barcelona. Real Madrid. Messi. Ronaldo. For nearly a decade, world football revolved around this conflict. Every weekend felt like a championship fight. Every goal felt personal. Every trophy mattered. If Messi scored 2 goals, Ronaldo answered. If Ronaldo broke a record, Messi responded. Neither man allowed the other to rest. Together they created statistical insanity. 50 goals. 60 goals. 70 goals. Numbers that once belonged in video games suddenly became reality. Before Messi and Ronaldo, a 30-goal season was extraordinary. After Messi and Ronaldo, 30 goals felt ordinary. They didn't just dominate football. They changed the standards forever. But despite everything they achieved at club level, there was still one question neither could escape. Could they do it for their country? And for years that question haunted them both. For Cristiano Ronaldo, the challenge was carrying Portugal. For Lionel Messi, the challenge was carrying expectations. Ronaldo eventually delivered. Euro 2016 transformed his international legacy forever. Portugal won its first major trophy. And Ronaldo became a national icon. But Messi's journey was much more painful. World Cup final. Lost. Copa America final. Lost. Another final. Lost again. The criticism became relentless. Some even questioned whether he deserved to stand alongside Diego Maradona. At one point, the pressure became so overwhelming that Messi retired from international football. For a moment, it seemed the story would end in heartbreak. But football had one final chapter left to write. And this was the moment everything changed. At 35 years old, Messi arrived in Qatar carrying the hopes of an entire nation. Every match felt like destiny. Every goal felt historic. Every victory brought him closer to immortality. Then came the final. Argentina versus France. A match so dramatic it felt scripted. Extra time. Penalties. Chaos. Emotion. History. And when the final whistle blew, Lionel Messi finally held the World Cup above his head. In that moment, one of football's greatest stories reached its perfect ending. So who was greater? Cristiano Ronaldo? Or Lionel Messi? The truth is, the answer depends on what you value. If you admire discipline, mental strength, physical perfection, and relentless ambition, then Cristiano Ronaldo may be your greatest player ever. He represents the idea that greatness can be built, that limits can be broken, that hard work can rival destiny. But if you value creativity, vision, natural brilliance, and the ability to make football look like art, then Lionel Messi may be your answer. He represents the beauty of the game itself. A player whose genius often seemed impossible to explain. One built himself into a legend. The other seemed born as one. And somehow both existed in the same era. Perhaps the biggest mistake people make is trying to choose. Because one day football fans will tell future generations about a time when two players completely dominated the sport for over 15 years. A time when every Ballon d'Or felt inevitable. Every record felt temporary. Every season felt historic. And those future fans may never truly understand how lucky we were. Because we didn't just witness greatness. We witnessed two different versions of perfection. At the same time. And regardless of where you stand in the debate, that is something we may never see again. Messi or Ronaldo? More importantly, why? Whatever your answer may be, one thing is certain. Football will never forget either of them. And neither will we.